BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hi everyone, Susie Dent here, friend of the pod. I'll be back later with a question, but first I must warn everybody that the following podcast does contain some strong language and some adult themes, so it may not be suitable for children. It's also got some unusual humour in it, which may be unsuitable for adults.
Crouchy P on the MIC. We're doing this not for free, we're doing it for the massive.
Got to bash out a quick Mike Dean slaughters chickens in the local park.
Was it David or was it David?
No, not that phrase. the one that David said to you.
I don't want to do that.
That's why I've asked you the question.
Pancake. Pancake.
Who is the pancake of the Premier League?
That should be on the start, I reckon. Everyone's got a Fernando Torres.
Hello and welcome to another episode of That Peter Crouch podcast with me, Peter Crouch, Tom Fordyce and Chris Starker with me as usual. Right, boys? How are we?
Yeah, it's nice to be with you again, boys. Chris, you've got a very smart tracksuit top. You look very Mike Skinner from the streets this evening, which is a good thing.
Yeah, great thing. Well, that's a big honour for me. As you know, like I'm the biggest Streets fan, Mike Skinner fan. So yeah, that's good. But yeah, do you know what it is? Just an old school throwback top.
There's something about a tracksuit top though, Crouch, isn't there? Like the hoodie is one thing, but the tracky top, a nice tracky top, can be worn at any time of the day.
You know, I finally got the 90s England shell suit tracksuit, you know.
You've
Have I
got
told
it?
you that? I've got it, yeah.
Ah,
And it fit me like a dream. Incredible, you know, so pleased with it.
What about you know some of the team trackies that you've got? Do you ever wear them out and about?
No, I've got a few pairs of shorts every now and then that I just throw on, sort of like after I've had a shower or something like that, and just to lounge about in. Always enjoys when I've got the Burnley ones on.
Yeah, what's her favourite?
I don't think any of them potentially are her favourites.
Hang on a minute, you're onto something. You go out representing every team you've ever played for. That could be a great look.
Yeah, you see, if I did that, I've got quite a few teams, and I'd probably be quite hot. There's quite a lot of layers there. I remember getting on a flight, right? And you know when you've got to you put your hand luggage in the little
it's got to try and
holder
fit.
thing.
Yeah.
So this fella's flying back from Mallorca, and he said, "Look, unless it goes in there, you can't get on this flight, and it's got to go underneath." Mate, he unzipped it. He put every item of clothing that he had. So I'm talking, he had 4 pairs of jeans, he had jackets, he had 2 hats on. And mate, he put the thing in, and he was walked in. The woman went, "Yep, that's absolutely fine, sir." And then when he got on the plane, the whole plane applauded him. Oh, it was so funny.
It happens. Like I've been in that situation where I've had to take things out, or like you try and sneak things into your jumper or your underneath your
shoplifter's
shirt,
coat.
so you can just so you can get on a plane. Mad
I've
rules.
seen someone once in exactly that situation absolutely ram their bag, like basically hammer it into the thing, look triumphant for a second, and then be totally unable to lift it out again. And we left them with them just trying to lift up the entire stand.
So many bizarre rules at airports, isn't there? What's that clear bag thing where you obviously the liquids and stuff, but it goes into a clear bag? They can see straight through my bag, regardless of what it is, right? So whatever I've got in there, they can see it. So why do I take them out so they're visible when they can just see it in my bag anyway?
Is there a worse feeling in the world, boys, than when you've gone through the security and you're watching your bag approaching the divider of doom? It's a little 50-50 and you're thinking, come on. And if it goes the wrong way, it's one of the most heartbreaking experiences you can have.
Oh. The difficult thing is not only is, not only is disastrous, it's gone the wrong way, you then get degraded because no matter what you've got in that bag is coming out and everyone can see what you've got in there. And heaven forbid, you've got something embarrassing there, like pile cream or something like that.
Yeah, or a dildo. Like, have you ever done the old vibrator?
It's on the
vibrator
table.
in your mate's bag, sort of thing.
That's a good one.
It is a good one, isn't it? You put a vibrator and a couple of coins in the bag.
The change from having bought the vibrator. Chris, something I've been wondering all week after our discussion on Dragon's Den ideas. Anything else along those lines?
Yeah, we're getting quite a few of these. It's great. And then I think what we'll do is we'll just settle on our favourite 1 or 2 and then try and get some investment from Deborah Meaden.
What about ideas for this week?
Yeah, I've got this message from Ross here. My invention is for that time when you're hungry but can't decide what you want to eat. I would create a box with 3 different sections for crisps, sweets, and chocolate.
I'm not sure about this idea, if I'm totally honest.
Maybe if you're out and about, but you can still just take a packet of sweets, a bar of chocolate, and a packet of crisps.
No idea is a bad idea because the thing is, Ross, it is a bad idea. But what it could do is it could spark just something which is a really good idea.
Yeah, we're bouncing off each other, aren't we? You know, we're coming up with ideas. You know, some of them could be shit. That one particularly was. But you know,
Yeah.
we'll just work from there.
But no, it's a good thing that you have been that shit with your idea, because it could spark off something, and someone listening is now thinking, right, confectionery, sweets, that kind of thing. And then they'll have a good idea and then let us know.
We've had a message from Bernie Boys. My dragon idea is a polite car horn. I like this.
I'm a big fan.
Because at the moment you've got nothing between dink, 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 flicking the lights, and the farm, which makes people want to fight.
Yeah. I totally agree. I hate the horn. I don't think I've ever used it. It's just too loud, and I think it's just rude. You're like, it just gets you angry, doesn't it? And I think we would solve a lot of road rage incidents if we just didn't have annoying horns. Polite horns is a fantastic idea.
I'm wondering about maybe a sort of nice British way of doing it would be just a very gentle throat clear, like a...
I like that. I like that. I think if you had 3 different types of horn, that would be where you need to go. You know, polite, not so polite, and quite harsh.
I used to have something when I was driving, which was a plastic fist, right? And what it did is you stuck it up against the window, and then it had like a squeeze. It was by air. It had like a little squeezy thing which could go by the gear stick, and it just flicks a middle finger up. But then obviously your mates would take advantage of that, and it'd be someone really pleasant behind, and then they were getting the old finger.
That's superb. That. Do you know one other thing I don't understand, sticker wise and stuff, is the baby on board. I don't want to crash into the back of you, regardless if you've got a baby or not. So why would you have that?
Yeah, I don't like the people as well that get the kind of ones that are trying to be funny, like babe on board, that kind of thing.
Have got me on when I was at Liverpool years ago, I remember.
What do you have? Honk if you're horny?
Hunk on board.
Yeah. Oh, God.
She was like, babe, you haven't put that sticker in. I was like, yeah. I keep forgetting.
No one will crash into you because there's a hunk on board,
It's catfishing, isn't it? I'll get out. Hold on a minute. Where's the hunk?
Do you know what? There's a whole load of ideas there that we should write down and put to Deborah Mead. And let's have a look at this hunk on board scenario. Let's bring back the plastic middle finger and a throat clearing car horn.
Chris, any more on the Messi Ronaldo debate? Have you been firing out any messages to anyone?
I was going through on Instagram. There's a folder on Instagram where people can message you if you don't follow them and they don't follow you or something. I don't fully understand it. And anyway, I was just having a little browse through there, and sure enough, one of the dragons had slid into my DMs. Ooh. Tej Lavani, one of the newer dragons. Ooh. All the message said was Messi and then a winking emoji face. Ooh. So the dragons are getting on board without me even having to hassle them.
That's great news, isn't it?
Because we are going to try and solve this on the podcast, aren't we? Messi or Ronaldo.
You never know which way this pod's going to go, do you? Why are we asking people from Dragon's Den if proves better?
I've kind of forgotten.
I've lost track of that as well.
I don't know why we're asking them.
Would be great to widen the referendum further than just the dragons from Dragon's Den. I also don't know if Messi and Ronaldo are both, because they've both got to accept the result as well. I don't know if they're going to accept it on a referendum based on the UK TV show
Four
Dragon's
people
Den.
they've never heard of.
Never who?
As always, boys, we've got ourselves slightly sidetracked there. This episode is all about set pieces. Should we crack on?
Do it.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
Set piece wise, people lying down under the wall. Can we get into this? Because
draft excluder, aren't
it feels so like I'm not a fan of it.
I reckon I've seen 2 goals go under the wall cleverly in my life. So I just don't see the need for it now. Really. I always think if you stand tall, then the keeper should do his job, and it's difficult for the taker. If you jump, you've got more chance of the wall breaking, people turning their backs. It gives you an excuse to sort of turn your backs. If you stand tall, you can't move. That's the best way to defend a direct free kick.
Do you think you're more useful to a team vertically or horizontally?
Well, I am a better weapon horizontally now.
Yeah.
So you could be like in hockey, they will bring on a specific player for a penalty corner. So actually, that could be your route back into top flight football. I suppose the issue is you almost have to lie with your back to the wall, don't you? Because you can't get your hands in a
so weird,
natural
mate.
position.
It's like
that.
It's so weird. The poor player. It's like paint me like one of your French girls sort of pose, isn't it?
Degrading, isn't it? Let's be honest. It is degrading. Like you're lying down on your back to play, and the best you can hope for from your job is the ball hits you on the back.
And you've had nothing to do with it.
How's that role chosen?
Just the longest person?
The longest person. Do you reckon?
Yeah, they can't smile, can they? Like, because it's a really serious job. But the pose that they're in, because they're having to face ordinarily, and I don't think this has happened so much because of the pandemic, but at some point there's going to be a stand full of people that they're staring at. And they won't be able to avoid it, right? And they'll be lying down on the ground. Are you worried that if you were still playing, this would be you?
100%, that'd be me. I used to hate it. I used to hate coming back for corners. If I had to come back to be a draft excluder, it would demoralise me.
But you would get chosen because those early days of your England career, they're not going to use a Sean Wright-Phillips in that role, are they?
I'd be perfect, wouldn't I? I'd be absolutely perfect.
You'd be hilarious, mate. Imagine your face. Like, you'd be giving a wink to the crowd and everything. Like, you'd make such a good job of it.
That would be me. Like, I'd be like there'd be like my body would cover the wall and my legs would just be like fouling people.
You might actually be too long, yeah. You'd be too long to do the job.
I think you're right. He's too long for the wall because imagine his head stuck round the side as well.
You know,
so like he's having his head and his feet on either side of the wall. It would look ridiculous.
Do you know what happened as well? People would go over my feet whilst I've got my back to play. Someone like, Harry Kane would run in and go over my feet and go down and get a pen.
Do you know what? The thing is as well, that would be a penalty as well, wouldn't it? If you've left a leg out.
I've left a leg out, haven't I?
It's literally a trailing leg.
The trailing leg. but I'm facing the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper would have to talk to me at all times about, hey, lift it up.
It'll be a bit like when Tower Bridge has to raise to let a big ship through. There'd be a moment where Crouchy's legs would be down and then he'd have to do the Tower Bridge at pace to get them out the way of an onrushing Kane.
It's a real bitch role though, isn't it? I mean, like, in a match day, I suppose you can't have much of a laugh with it. Cameras are watching and stuff like that. But on the training ground, it must be fucking ridiculous.
It just wasn't a thing when I was playing. So I see it now, and I'm the same as you. I'm like, what do they say? Like, how do you get chosen for that role and why?
But if you were a manager, would you have players do it?
Do you know another thing that I've just thought of then is, do you know the charger? The 4 in the wall or the 5 in the wall.
And the man who runs out.
Then you have the man next to them that
the sacrificial lamb.
Kamikaze style to block the ball. Like, that's chosen by basically the sort of lunatic in the team, usually a midfielder. But I've seen some proper chargers in my time.
Who are the best chargers?
Glenn Whelan for me was...
Did he have the pace to be a charger?
No, someone with the desire to run out and get smashed with the ball from 3 yards. You've got to be a certain character to want that.
A large amount of players could do that, but you have to really want it, like to really throw yourself at it.
Theo Walcott for me is not going to be a good blocker, but he was possibly the fastest player, one of the fastest players in the Premier League. But is he going to be that man to block it? He's not that type of player, and I don't think he's that type of person. The blocker usually is a bit of a lunatic. Nothing about it's right, is it? Doesn't matter where it hits you, it's going to hurt.
Like, there's something intrinsic in the blocker's character where they would be happy to wear a 70-mile-an-hour shot in the nuts because they know that no one else would do it. They relish being the blocker.
I tell you, most blockers in teams are fans' favourites. And as a fan, I've been a fan as well. when that person flies out the blocks and is probably 5 yards illegally away from the set piece, takes one in the stomach, there's no better feeling as a fan. A cheer is the same as a goal, isn't it?
Yeah.
It makes me wonder, Chris, like the transfer policy of clubs now is so carefully worked out, and there's so much analytics that go into it, and niche players are bought for specific roles. I wonder how far we are off the day when a player will be bought specifically for their blocking skills. Like there'll be, quite a high premium for one of the best blockers in the country.
Well, the thing is, you laugh, right? But I guess when you're talking about set pieces and the analysis involved, getting so technical as to what everyone does, it surely isn't that far off to where you start seeing serious stats being put behind some of these like key roles in a set piece.
Yeah, potentially. But also, I think the stats are pretty damning on how many goals are scored from corners. I think it's only in England that this happens. The excitement from the crowd when we get corners,
We love it.
No, it's not far off a goal.
Here you go, Crouchy. 3% of all corners lead to goals. 3%.
Right. So if Watford are playing, you're going to get incredibly excited about 100 of them, all 100. 97 of those are going to end in nothing. Absolutely
and then
nothing.
that horrible sort of slow trickle of people sitting back down. That's one of the most awkward bits as well. It's like when to sit back down after.
You never want to be the
phase
first,
of
but you don't want to be
play.
the last, do you?
Can we rattle off just a couple more set piece scenarios just as part of this podcast, right? Because it's fascinating, this. Can we count kickoff as a set piece?
It is, yeah.
Right. So, when you kick off, Crouchy, has there been many teams that you've played for where the manager has tried to get you like the quickest goal, catch them by surprise and try and score from that scenario? Because that's a great one to watch as a fan.
People are nervous about kickoffs. You don't want to play too many short passes or go back to like the centre half or end up back at the keeper, because you pile yourself up if they win it in your own half in the first sort of 10, 15, 20 seconds. So a lot of the time now it's like back to the midfield player and an aimless punt sort of in the direction of, the touchline. And quite often it goes out of play.
Yeah.
It's the single most aimless pass of the entire match.
So
and you
true.
think to yourself, honestly, but you think to yourself, if that was 2 minutes into the match and you did
get
that,
hammered for it.
you get booed by everyone in the crowd. It's like,
So
what are we doing?
true.
It's fucking shit, terrible. But for some reason, during the kickoff, if you boot the ball out of play 60 yards and no one gets near it, not a word said, not one word.
It's different rules. It's a bit like when you go over the toll bridge when you're travelling between England and Wales, right? And there's a moment you pay the toll and then it's just fucking chaos for about 10 seconds when you go out the track. So it's like Mario Kart. There doesn't seem to be any lanes. You just go wild for like 10 seconds. Now, ordinarily, you'd be in trouble for that,
That's carnage, isn't it, after the toll?
It's wacky races, mate. It's
Best bit of the M6 toll, that is, isn't it?
Crouch going for the spectacular. Oh, what a goal from Peter Crouch!
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
There sometimes seems to be an attitude with certain managers or players that set pieces are almost a bit dirty, that they're not as pure and beautiful a way to score a goal as open play.
Yeah, totally agree with you, Tom. Yeah, there's a stigma associated to set pieces, like it's almost a cheat, or it's an easier way to score, or it's beneath certain people. Certainly at Burnley, certainly at Stoke, I would practice set pieces more than I would at Liverpool or Tottenham, and I don't really know why that is. Because you can play free flowing football, beautiful goals, lovely passing football, counter-attacking football. But you always need to be good at set pieces. You need to have something in your armoury. I always felt it like it just got your tally up. If I got a scrappy goal in the 6-yard box, or I got a goal from a corner, it would add to your tally. It would win you games. It would win you points. They're a vital part of football. So I don't really understand why they aren't practiced more, maybe in the in the bigger teams.
So is that because for that to happen, you're relying on the other team screwing up to a certain extent? It's not a beautiful, free-flowing move that has come all from your own making.
Certainly at Stoke, we were so well drilled in set pieces that there was one occasion where it was actually beautiful football. We practiced this. It was away at West Ham. Glenn Whelan bounces the ball in the corner, right? And we know that's the first corner we're going to try this. So when he bounces it, we know we're going to try this new corner. Jonathan Walters starts sort of at the back post, runs towards the near post. Ryan Shawcross, who has started at the near, blocks John Walters' man. So now he's sort of free at the near post. It's technically a foul, but we've got away with it. Glenn Whelan has whipped it into the near post on the floor, and he's finished it brilliantly at the near post. That feeling of something you've worked on, the sign has been done. You know, you get that sort of those butterflies in your body go, oh my God, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. Everyone's sort of acting and playing a role. But that feeling, I mean, the bench love it because they, you know, it's almost a goal for them.
So talk us through, from a training ground point of view, when you're practicing a set piece, do you plan what you're going to do separate and then they roll out a defence in front of you that you can practice this on?
I used to you remember how England's set up at the World Cup? You know, with the
choo-choo train.
The train, yeah. So you've got basically the best header of the ball would be the back of this train because the first man is not getting a header in, let's be honest, because he's blocking. I used to hate someone grabbing onto me or holding me. So I'd always hide behind one of my teammates. At Stoke, it'd be Ryan Shawcross. I knew he was big and he was sort of getting in the way. And then I could either fake to go near, you know, just throw a little shimmy in. The whole idea of this is just to get a free header in. You know, if I got a run on someone, I knew that more than likely I'd win the first contact. I used to like the ball floated in more than whipped, just over the defender's head, the gazelle, as we like to call them. Straight over the gazelle, bang, at the back post. I used to love those. That adrenaline. I've lost him. Oh, you're excited. And then the ball's right. And you go, oh my God, there's another factor. And then you go, oh, and then it's so hard to not snatch at the chance because you're so excited that those factors have happened. So then you've got to wait, you know, and then you get the timing right. And when you get that contact and you realise that the keeper's not going to get there, like all those factors coming together, it's such a good feeling, that kind of goal.
In such a short space of time. Have you boys seen that video of a slow motion Ronaldo? I mean, he leaves the ground before anyone else and he's in there. He's in the air longer than anyone else. It's one of the most beautiful things I think I've ever seen.
The defender was shocking in that scenario, I have to say.
Was he? Because I couldn't tell from the video because it was slow-mo.
It was a bit of both, but I feel like it was absolute genius and it just proves, you know, like absolute specimen that Ronaldo is.
See, the way you've described it to us there, Crouchy, that was so evocative. It was quite beautiful, wasn't it, Chris? Yet there is still this sniffiness. There was a goal you scored when you were at Southampton and you score a goal against Arsenal direct from a corner. I think it's a Jamie Redknapp corner. And there's a quote always makes me chuckle, from Arsene Wenger afterwards, where he refers to you as a basketball player. So it almost feels like you should sit down with Arsene Wenger and just give him that little bit of chat you've given me and Chris to give him a greater appreciation of what those goals are like.
Yeah, I think they are sniffed at a little bit. It is a bit of like the only way they can score is set pieces. You know, we have to. They're strong, they're tough, they're difficult to beat, and they're dangerous at set pieces. That for me is like a derogatory sort of summing up of a team. Certainly, when I was at Stoke, there was it's like they can't score goals any other way. They'll get a set piece and they'll lump it in the box and they'll get a header in, or you know, Rory's throw in. You know, the throw in will come in. They'll get a flick on. It'll be lucky, and it'll go. You know, someone in the back post will tap it in or something like that. I feel like that's the stigma. The stigma is that's the only way they can score.
Shall we break down, because I'm fascinated by this, the different signals involved in a set piece and kind of how it's worked from your experience, some of the best signals, the best moves that come from signals, things that we could maybe be looking out for when we're watching football matches. Firstly, the classic 2 arms in the air. Is that a generic call, or is that purely whatever's been worked on that week?
they're not that difficult to work out. They're like 2 arms is back post and 1 arm is front post.
Well, always.
No.
Always.
They're always different, so you can never know which one's which, but it's either going to the front or the near, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Does it reset when players leave the club or strikers leave the club? And the second one is, are there clubs that you watch on TV where they're still using the same signals that were used when you were playing and they've passed down through the team?
Do you know the one I liked that always gets them? I won't say which club because I think they're still doing it.
Okay, we'll try and guess then. Yeah.
You know what? Where they'll put the ball down as if they're going to take it, and as soon as they put the ball down, someone else will whip it in. Bizarre how many times that works.
Has it ever been confusing for you where you've moved clubs, you haven't learnt the signals in time?
When I was at Liverpool, Rafa he was meticulous in absolutely everything he did. So after a game, I forget what signals what. Do you know what I mean? I just that's me. I'm done with signals today. And then on Friday and Thursday, I'll have to learn them again. But Rafa would say to me, we got Southampton on Saturday, like you were there sort of last year. What's the signals? Well, yeah, 1 arm's near post and 2 arms, they usually go far. And it'll be the exact opposite in the game. And I'll go, they must have changed them, Rafa.
They've done me.
They've done me.
What an amazing conversation. And then when you're practicing the signals then for that game, how does it work?
The team, usually, on a Friday, the starting 11, will play against the subs and the extra squad members. And then you'll do set pieces at the end, and you'll be standing there. If you're not playing, you'll be standing there in a bib, and you'll have to pretend to be someone that you're playing against on Saturday. I'm standing there, because I'm big and tall. I'll be the centre half, and I know I'm a sub. Really, it's the most demoralising part of football. Really, being the human cone for the team to practice their set pieces on, and also you don't want to then run too much or embarrass them or score because you're going to be out there a hell of a lot longer till the team gets it right.
Yeah.
I don't want to run into Shawcross and try as hard as I can. People will get injured. Butland's coming out for a cross. I'm not going to throw an elbow in. I'm not going to do it like a match situation anyway. But I feel like you could do all this in front of a tactics board or around a computer. Like there were times where it was absolutely freezing or completely pissing down, and we're sort of talking about where people are going to stand outside when we could, I think, do it inside.
What about then when you sign for a club? Do you bring your own? How do you put your own stamp on set pieces, or does it always come from the manager?
My worst scenario would be the blocker, the decoy, and God, I couldn't tell you how annoyed I was doing that. You're standing there as basically a human sort of lamppost at the near post.
Human trampoline, aren't you?
Flicking something on for someone else to get the glory. Absolutely hated it.
I've got a bit of stat chat for you, Crouchy, about this, because I know we love our stats on this show. So this whole near post flick on business. So your chances of scoring a goal from a corner where there's a flick on, you will score a goal 4.8% of the time. If you're taking a corner ordinarily and there is no flick on, you'll score 2% of the time. So the flick on is about as potent a weapon as you can bring out on a corner.
I get that. I do think there's the 100% case for the flick on. I just don't want to be the flicky. I want to be the tapping merchant at the back stick.
So that comes from the manager, right? So you sign. Where did this happen, Crouchy? So you just signed for a club, and then you're a tall guy. Suddenly we've got someone for this role, right?
Very as I got older, I became sort of more vocal in where I wanted to be for corners, and that was basically getting on the end of them because I felt like it was a free shot at goal. If my movement was right and the ball was right, I'd feel confident that I'd beat anyone in the air, and I didn't want to lose that opportunity to score.
It reminds me of the centre forwards episode. This just in the way that ultimately what Tom's talking about is it's a massive benefit to the team to having someone in that position doing it, but then ultimately you are passing it on to someone else, and
Exactly. Yeah, I just didn't want to. I didn't want to be that one flicking it on. I want it that near post one. You're not scoring.
Well, Crouchy, what's your advice to anyone who is being used as a flick on?
It's difficult, especially if it's working. Just make it not work.
So basically, the message is: if you're a flicky, just fuck it up as often as possible. Until someone else is given your role as chief flicky.
Well, can you not give some credit then for the fact that if we're going by your stat, Tom, that there's a very good chance that the flicky absolutely nails the assists stats wise.
I was surprised how many assists that I got. I think a lot of those are flicks. I wouldn't say a lot of them are like Kevin De Bruyne through balls. You know what I mean? I'd say a lot of them are like flickies.
Thing is, though, Crouchy, one of your first game you play for England, you give an assist to Michael Owen with another category of set piece, which is the quick free kick.
Yeah, quite pleased with that. It's my first start for England, and I think I got fouled in sort of the middle of the pitch. I just sort of fell on the ball, picked it up, and then Michael Owen made a just great run and just made my mind up for me. And it was just instinctive, just put it down and passed it through, and then he finished it, great finish, and that really sort of lifted my confidence, because I remember Sven talking to me afterwards and said, that was a great bit of quick thinking, and it was nice.
What's your take, Crouchy, if and have you had many experience of this, of like a player pissing about in front of you and you just want to spank the ball at them? Or like
I got sent off my first season at QPR, disastrous. I remember being away at Crewe. I got booked for something. Later on, there was a free kick happened. I gave away a foul, and he goes to take a quick one, and I just put my leg up and blocked it, and I got sent off for that.
You should be. I think if someone tries to stop you taking a quick free kick and stands in front of it, then you should be allowed. They have to pull their shorts down, and you're allowed a free shot with the football at their arse.
I like it's become a good shithousery we've discussed before, haven't we?
It's nice, isn't it, that we're revisiting Shithousery on the pod when we've got Susie Dent back on?
You know that when Ryan Giggs took that corner, he just left it in the can't remember if Rooney left it and Giggs dribbled it in, and they ruled the goal out at Old Trafford. Do you remember it? That's top shithousery.
Exactly.
On a set piece, that, isn't it? Taking it and then walk away as if you've left it for someone else and then they dribble it in.
There's an argument that the Trent Alexander-Arnold corner for Origi's goal against Barcelona is top shithousery.
That's a really interesting one. Is that classed as shithousery?
Do you think the shithousery is where there's an element of deception with it?
I think you're right, Chris.
If he was walking to the side, right, or if he was pretending to do his laces up or something, there's an element of dramatics about it.
Deliberate deception.
I love it. Well, I'll tell you why, because VAR can't do anything about it. If a player dances around in front of a throw-in or gets in the way of a goal kick,
nothing VAR can do.
VAR will never be able to solve shithousery.
And do you think that's why we've started leaning? VAR has forced us into the arms of shithousery.
because
VAR has forced us into the arms of shithousery. Just doesn't make it shouldn't make any sense, but it does.
Think about it.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
Crouchy, you must have been in situations where someone has messed up. They've forgotten what they're meant to do. And then you go in at half-time or full-time and they are the fall guy.
There's nothing worse than, you practicing all week. Everyone knows their jobs on set pieces. Thursday and a Friday, the last sort of 10, 15 minutes, corners for, corners against, free kicks for, free kicks against, throw-ins, the odd throw-in here and there. And then on a Saturday, we just, in the PowerPoint before we leave for the ground, you just have reminders. And then you get into the changing room on a Saturday and everything will be pinned up on the board so you don't forget. Basically idiot proofing. And the worst one is if your name is put up next to another name, say I'm put up next to John Terry and my name is next to their name on that exact man who scored, you come in at half time and there's not a lot you can say. You go, Terry, Crouch, and Terry's just bagged one from a set piece. you have to hold your hands up and you're sheepish and you say, sorry, lads, I've let you down. And if it's worse, if this is the end of the game, you've lost the game down to this one set piece that someone scored. There's nothing more shameful on a football pitch, really. You feel about that big.
What about, I'm going to put something forward which may be considered more shameful. Chris, I don't know what you think about this. I'll give you a scenario. It's the 89th or 90th minute, and you're a goal down and you win a corner. The corner taker, with his corner, fails to beat the first man.
As a fan, there is nothing worse. You'd rather it overhit.
Yeah, what do the players say in this scenario? Because I've never seen so many people all at once start moaning about how much players earn than when they can't. No, but it's true. It's always the first topic of conversation.
But there was a case of this recently for Wednesday where Izzy Brown, who's on loan from Chelsea, it's 1-1 against Rotherham. It's the last minute. It goes straight to the first man. Rotherham break and smash one in the top corner.
But there's no real excuse for it, is there? It is, but really bad, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Do you bollock a teammate for that? How do you?
I do, because I used to thrive off crosses, right? And if someone wasn't getting a cross in or kept hitting the first man or kept coming back, I used to bollock them. Yeah, definitely. I was speaking to Jermaine Genius about this recently, and he was talking about Shearer. He was talking about the bollockings that he would give fullbacks and wingers for either hitting the first man or not getting a cross in when he wanted it. And he said the bollocking became that big that they were just throwing it in from everywhere.
I think it's the one thing about a set piece. Like it's the biggest annoyance. Like surely as a professional footballer, it's just the one thing that you've got to avoid. And it's also the one thing that I think fans, managers, players, everyone's bonded by, and that cannot happen.
So we're putting all the blame on the corner taker for not beating the first man. At no point have we ever considered giving any credit to the first man.
True. That's so true.
That's a valid point.
That's so true.
That's a really valid. Do you know what's amazing about this podcast is it's really opened my eyes that I've never ever thought of the first man.
You never hear a commentator go, "No, that's brilliant from the first man." Do you know what I mean?
Superb first manning.
There's never any excitement for the first man, is there?
Never gets picked up in the analysis. I mean, Crouchy, you are in a position to influence this. Next time you're on punditry duties.
Yeah, great shout.
You just highlight the first man and go, well, actually, I'm going to put a different spin on this. The first man was in the correct position to clear.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be amazing, Chris, wouldn't it, to be the first time anyone's seen a first man get man of the match?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not, he's missed 2 chances today, but he's got 5 first man clearances in.
I think from here on in, we should rebrand best man at weddings, and that's a first man. No, you know what I mean? Really make it a glorious role. One that kids want to be. Negatives into positives. That's what we should be about.
No one wants to be a draft excluder. Everyone should want to be a first man.
Hi, Susie Dent back again, and it's my chance to put Crouchy under a bit of pressure. So Peter, I would like to know, when you're playing, do you have a secret code, a kind of secret language that you use with players on your team so that they know exactly what you're going to do whilst the opposition doesn't?
Listen, I'm sure you've played football. You know the over.
What is it exactly?
Players behind you and you let the ball run through your legs because you get the shout from behind. And, it's often like 2 strikers in tandem. It was a move like we worked on as kids. The most perfect example of an over or a Sids or a Jacks was when the year that Man United won the treble. The goal against Barcelona between York and Cole was beautiful centre-forward link-up play. Say it was York and he would have just shouted over. He's run over the ball and then gone for the return ball. And then they played a couple of 1-2s together. It was a fantastic goal, but that was the perfect example of an over, a Sids, a Jacks. I suppose that is a different language in some ways, but people started saying, you couldn't say over anymore. So you had to make up people's names. So it was universally known in football to like a Sids or a Jacks because they're names.
I remember one of the first rules of football that really baffled me as a kid, I don't know if you had this, Chris, was when you were playing football and someone shouts mine, and the referee blows his whistle and goes, whoa, 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 whoa. And all the kids standing around going, what's wrong with that?
Is it an official rule that you have to put your name on it? Like, Can a referee stop a game for that?
Yeah, it was. So I remember when it came in, it was like you can't say, because I was a young player, you couldn't say mine or yours or and even it's bad, it's like bad sportsmanship now. If you're behind someone and you're on the opposing team and you say like over Jack Sids and then get the ball, I think the referee can still blow up.
I've heard it done with where a striker is making a run into a box and one of the defenders has gone near post to clear it, and then the striker has shouted, "Keepers!" So the defender leaves it, and then the striker bangs it in.
Did you ever do it, Crouchy? Be honest. Was there a game where it gave you an edge?
Do you know what? No. I've seen it done, and I've seen it done in training, because in training it's quite funny, isn't it? Like you just do it. But I've never done it. No, I don't agree with it really. It's just cheating, isn't it?
Do you imagine VAR went back on it and they're slowing down a player's mouth? It's only a matter of time.
Imagine that.
Drawing lines as his lips open.
Yeah.
Look, we can just see his lips opening there.
We're not far off that, I don't think.
It'll come.
Now, guys, do you remember on the last episode we heard from Liam, whose group of mates forfeit for finishing bottom of their fantasy football league was to take a life-size cardboard cutout of Mark Noble in a dress out to dinner?
No, it's fantastic.
Amazing.
It's absolutely fantastic.
It's so good. And now we've been getting so many messages from people sending in the forfeits that they do. These are brilliant. Message from James says, I lost last season and after lockdown will be required to get a megabus from London to Glasgow and back. The sting in the tail is that I have to get the first bus back once I arrive in Glasgow, meaning I can't even enjoy myself when there.
I mean, how long a journey is that? That could be 8 hours each way.
The first bus back. It's so good, isn't it?
Amazing.
All right, here's another one. This one's from Lewis. Whoever finishes bottom has to complete a full 20-minute live comedy set at an open mic night as soon as lockdown is over. There was an intense battle at the bottom between 3 or 4 people who were all shitting themselves.
Oh, that's intense. I remember we went to Wimbledon once, and we went to the pub straight after Wimbledon. We were in the pub, and they had karaoke, and they said to the fellow, we played a game, and the loser had to go and do this karaoke at like 2-3 in the afternoon with lots of very posh, well-to-do people that liked going to Wimbledon. And the song that we picked for my mate to sing was Chocolate Salted Balls. Do you remember Chef?
Classic by Chef.
Yeah. Isaac Hayes.
Amazing. I never seen anything like it. It was amazing.
This is my favourite one I think we've been sending so far, but like, feel free to better this if you listen to this and you got one better. It's from Joe. He says, if you finish bottom of our league, you have to spend 24 hours in a McDonald's, but you get to knock an hour off for every full meal that you eat.
There are McDonald's that are 24 hours, are there?
Yeah. So, and you've got to sit in a McDonald's for 24 hours, which is so uncomfortable. Like the whole place is designed to be that you get uncomfortable after 15 minutes and leave. Like that's their whole thing. Plastic chair.
What is a full meal under? Because obviously, as you boys know, I don't eat meat. So just talk me through what exactly a full meal entails.
Yeah, you've got burger, chips, and a drink.
But the thing is, that's only for an hour. So even just to knock off 8 hours of that, you've got to eat. It's really.
But do you attack it?
I think it's really clever.
Like, what are your tactics there? Do you attack it or do you space out?
But how many could you get through, Crouchy? Like, put your neck on the line here.
I'd like to think I'd be in there for about 10 hours.
No. You're telling me you could eat 14
meals?
Yeah, in 10 hours I could eat 14 meals. I hope we don't end up doing this, but
of course we are going to do it. What else are we going to do?
It's
exactly what is happening, Chris. We are going to make Crouchy attempt to eat 14 McDonald's meals in 10 hours or less as soon as lockdown.
Well, why don't we do? It feels we should do it properly. Like we should do this forfeit 24 hours in a McDonald's, all 3 of us.
I'm going to struggle for obvious reasons, aren't I?
Yeah. What do you have?
McWhitebait.
Do they do a McWhitebait?
a McWhitebait. Let's go. Well, I think 14 meals in 10 hours. 10 hours is a long time.
Let's do it. Let's do the 24 hours in McDonald's, right? If it goes the way that you're saying, you're only in there 10 hours.
Only?
And we'll just...
Imagine, I forget the 24 hours. Imagine if someone had started this conversation by saying, you've got to go to McDonald's and stay there.
Yeah, it's already bad enough, isn't it?
It's only because we've started at 24 that 10 doesn't
Seems
seem an
alright,
obscene
yeah.
number.
What we should
Full
do is
meals.
play a game. Loser out of us three.
Yeah, you're right, actually.
Could we go around to Crouchy house? Crouchy, you've got a lot of fun activities
let's do some of
in
your
your house or your
garden
garden. Could we do the
stuff.
Crouch Olympics?
Okay, brilliant. But that's settled, yeah? Crouchy,
I
do
really don't know
little
how we got into this.
mini Olympics in the garden
But-
to
It
decide.
started with your boasting. That's what's brought us here. You're boasting about your consumption of McDonald's meals.
Crouchy's worried as well, because the thing is, Crouchy, you can't lose in your own garden, can you? You can't lose Garden Olympics. You're a better sportsman than both of us. It's your back. It's quite literally in your back garden. Like
This is my house.
And I would love it if we beat you.
The ultimate away win, that wouldn't it? To go to Crouchy's house
Yeah.
and beat him in the Crouch Olympics. He could literally go out there now, Chris, and start
Mate,
practicing. He's got till the end of lockdown to
I've
practice.
never been beaten in my own garden.
Yeah, we'll see, mate. We'll see. Let's get thinking of the events. Loser 24-hour Mackey's challenge. It's going to be great.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
Boys, I'm delighted to say we've got Annie Mack here with us now. You know this bit of the pod where we let other people come on and sell a show that they've done or a podcast that they're on. Plus, we usually sort of sidetrack them with all sorts of nonsense. Today, it's Annie Mack's turn. How are you, Annie?
Can I just make a formal apology to the listeners of this podcast? What was I thinking? Why did I ask that question? I'm still look back at that and just shudder with embarrassment.
Annie, I have to say, out of all the questions we've had, it was by far, I was going to be, before you even brought it up, I was about to thank you for possibly the best question we've ever had.
Should we just remind people who may not remember, Annie, your question revolved around whether Crouchy would rather, at a swanky party, have a piss in the pool, or, I think I'm correct in saying, jump in and leave a floater.
Yeah. It was that, but it was the idea of the float. Oh God, I can't believe getting into this again. But it was the idea of the floater. Maybe you could get away with it because you could be out of the pool and moved on before people discovered it. Whereas if you had to just stand there and take a piss, it's clear what you're doing and everyone's watching.
It's nice we can clear things up because on the podcast as well, I described you as the Gary Neville of Radio 1 and it got misquoted in tweets to you. As you know, Annie, like we're good friends. What I mean is, out of all of our lot of Radio 1, you're the one that can kind of rally everyone together.
Yeah.
That's what
I'm happy to be the Gary Neville of the DJ crew.
What I always think with you, Annie, and I think it's like, I feel like your show is like a little island for me. Like I can turn it up loud, but dance music has kind of kept people sane throughout this whole time still, despite the fact people can't go to clubs. And I think that's been quite interesting.
People use that show as a place to, you know, as a kind of, I don't know, a signpost for like, fun is here. I can relax. I can decompress. The weekend is here. And it's all kitchen raving now. All people at home in their gardens.
You have good kitchen raves, Crouchy, don't you?
Oh, yeah,
I know you and Abs have good
I bet
times.
you have an amazing kitchen rave.
Oh,
Crouchy.
we have good kitchen raves. Yeah, you know, like the music from the roof. We bang it out. We shut all the doors so the kids don't wake up, and we go for it.
Love it. Love it.
But yeah.
I always find this bit of the podcast an interesting one because we're kind of telling people to go and listen to potentially rival podcasts. But we like to think of it as slightly more collaborative than that. I think that's fair to say, boys. But Annie, your podcast, and I'm not just saying it, it's amazing because I think everyone gets to see the other areas of your life that you bring into it.
I was thinking about how it can kind of tie in with what you lot do. You know your Mike Dean episode about the referee that used to work in the slaughterhouse. I mean, in terms of an extreme change, that's kind of what I'm talking about. So we focus on people, not necessarily well-known people, just people who've got mad, extraordinary stories of change. And it's just mad to hear the story of how someone gets into that situation and then how they get out of it. And I'm really, really loving doing it. It's wicked fun.
Here's an idea for your next kitchen rave, Crouchy. BBC Sounds app, you can scroll across and get Radio 1 Dance, and it's just straight up dance music. Is it? I think it's all day long, is it, Annie? Like whenever I tune into it, it seems to be music. You'll know more than me.
Yeah, so it's basically it's like the sound of my show or Pete Tong's show or Danny Howard show 24/7. So you just press that button and it's like 24/7 dance music. If you can't get enough of Friday night, if you want it to be Friday night all the time, then Radio 1 Dance is where you go. It's on BBC Sounds.
If you soundtrack inappropriate things to it, it's great. Like, I'm thinking like when you can have your mother-in-law back over, that kind of thing, and just have it going.
Chris, have you told Tom and Crouchy about Sac City?
Me and Annie are setting up our own dance outfit called Sac City.
Don't leave Scott out.
Yeah, and Scott. I mean, he's the S in the...
So like Silk City a bit, but Sac City. And apparently we're going to just take over the unis, do all the tours. I'm going to DJ. Chris and Scott are going to shout out Bournemouth or whatever you do on your mic.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll shout out what town we're in.
So they sound like the real skill behind the operation. That sounds like you on tour, Annie, with a couple of Herberts.
Yeah.
Oh, Annie, I love that you're on this podcast. It's always fun getting you on.
Well, I'm so happy that I haven't degraded myself like I did last time. So I'm just happy about that. Thank you for having me.
We do that on every episode. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Crouchy's done the robot again because it's 100 Premier League goals for Peter Crouch.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.